It's the same way. I mean, strategically speaking, for Iran to attack Israel is the dumbest thing in the world because right now, Iran can end the cycle of violence between Iran and Israel, bring it into it, cap it. Everybody knows the Israeli strike against Iran was pathetic. Everybody knows Iran can level Israel. So, you can have Israel saying things, you can have the Western media saying, but the people who know, the people who count, they know exactly what the score is. And as the Iranian president said, the number one priority for Iran has always been, in this case, supporting Hamas. And even though the situation is absolutely dire for the Palestinian people, Israel's not winning. Israel's losing. There's not a single metric out there that has Israel winning. Not one. Challenge anybody to send me one thing. Economically, no, their economy's collapsing. Tourism, done. They had to shut down Terminal 1. Nobody's flying in. No tourist economy. Nobody's investing in Israel. Nobody wants to build. Israelis are fleeing. They're fleeing their homes in northern Israel. They can't return to their homes. They're being bombarded. Israel, nobody's coming in. Nobody wants to be part of this. Israeli political commentators are talking about Israel in a near civil war state, fighting amongst themselves. Reservists are committing suicide rather than joining up. Desertion rates between 12 and 24% in certain units. They're not beating Hamas. They're not beating Hezbollah. They can't beat Iran. Where is Israel winning? And they're not. And the fact of the matter is, with this trajectory going the way it is, Israel will cease to exist as a viable national state in a year. Some people give them less than a year. Some people say they might be able to make it a couple years. But Israel, as we know, it's over. It's finished. The world has abandoned Israel. Israel will never recover global approval for the state of Israel. The fact is the world is insisting now on a Palestinian state, which is something, of course, this current iteration of the Israeli government says they will never accept, which is why they're collapsing, because they've boxed themselves into a corner with no way out. So if I'm an Iranian, I'm sitting there, yeah, I mean, I'm mad. You killed 4 of my soldiers, you killed a civilian, I'm going to do it. But I'm also looking there going, Israel's defeating itself. Why do I want to do anything that gives Israel a way out? Because expanding the war is actually good for Israel, because it changes the focus on Gaza. It changes the focus now to global stability, and everybody will be intervening to stop this war. And it'll be an intervention that is designed to preserve Israel's status as a nation state, to inject security into the mix. Iran doesn't want that. Nobody who is against Israel wants that. So the best thing to do is just sit back, continue to support Hamas, continue to support Hezbollah, and let Israel kill itself, because that's what Israel's doing, killing itself.
In the southern part of Lebanon, Scott, we've seen a village here. Let me show you. They bombed a village. You see all of the houses here are just exploding at the same time. And do you think that it's all about the Hezbollah strongholds? Because the way they're talking about it, it's unbelievable the way that they're attacking, they're destroying everything.
Yeah, it's a war crime. Look, Nazi Germany did it, in Czechoslovakia. They went around and leveled villages. They did it in France. They did it in Russia. This is what Nazis do. This is what war criminals do. This is what criminal regimes do. There's no legal basis for them to do what they just did. None whatsoever. It's collective punishment of the worst sort. And the world, isn't doing a damn thing about it. That's the reality. The United States isn't. Again, we have become a nation that I don't even recognize anymore what we do. We have State Department spokesmen who laugh at the fact that Israel has ignored the 30-day deadline the United States placed on them for humanitarian. Well, I mean, we're not ready to give them a grade yet. Why are you laughing? They're starving people to death. You're the ones who said that they can't do it, but they're doing it now. What are you going to do about it? And all you have is a laugh and a stupid look on your face. But that's America. We're a nation that laughs and has a stupid look on our face. We're letting this happen. People ask themselves, Aaron Bushnell, the airman who burned himself to death in protest over Israel last February, he one of the things he said before he He said, what would you do if you could go back in time and you lived in the time of Jim Crow, you lived in the time of the Nazis, you lived in the time of the worst atrocities ever? All the ones where people saying, well, we know it's bad, something should have been done. Well, what would you do? And then the answer is you're doing it right now. Because all these atrocities taking place, what would you do then is what you're doing now. Not a damn thing. Not a damn thing. So all those Americans that posture, that pretend to be somehow moral beings, that we're the good guys. No, we suck. We're the worst guys in the world because we could do something. We do have the power to intervene and stop. One phone call could end Netanyahu in this war. One phone call. Easy phone call to make. Bibi, we're cutting off all support on withdrawing the ambassador. All military units are withdrawn, and you're going to be on your own unless you do the following, and it has to be articulated publicly within the hour. That means you're going to read a teleprompter, what we wrote. You don't get a vote. Yes or no, because otherwise we're pulling out, we're not recognizing you, we're leaving to your own volition. Goodbye, Bibi. Have a good day. Easy phone call to make if we stood for anything, but we stand for nothing. We absolutely stand for nothing because every crime that Netanyahu's committing against the Palestinians, we've committed against others. Sometimes we spread our genocide out, but let's never forget that we starved the Iraqi people to death for over a decade. Madeleine Albright sat there and said, 500,000 dead Iraqi children because of sanctions, that's a price we're willing to pay. And she didn't get fired. She didn't get fired. She didn't get arrested. She didn't get put up on charges. A handful of people in America, well, that's a horrible thing to say, but she went on to be Secretary of State. And she, went to Georgetown University and became a professor teaching the next generation of American diplomats about American morality. 500,000 Iraqi children's death is a price we're willing to pay. We illegally invaded and occupied Iraq and killed millions. That's okay. We're America. We can get away. So why would we ever speak up against anything? Because what Israel is doing against the Palestinians, as horrible as it is, pales in comparison to what we've done to the world. We've killed millions we've killed. And nobody holds us to it. Not even ourselves. I know the world can't because we're too big. But we're the ones, the people of the United States of America are the ones that are supposed to hold ourselves accountable to a higher standard. And we're doing nothing. Aaron Bushnell was 100% correct. What would you do if you went back in time? The same thing you're doing now, which is absolutely nothing because we stand for nothing.
Here is a picture from what has happened in Lebanon. They destroyed the same building. I remember the pictures from that movie, Scott. It's the same. When you look at it's the same.
It's the same. Look, the Israelis today are the second worst nation in the world. America's the worst nation in the world. Like I said, our crimes are on a scale beyond belief. But Israel's the second worst nation in the world. There's nothing good about Israel. Nothing. There's not one thing good about Israel. You can't name one. They allow this to happen. They are literally a walking, talking, meme-generating machine, and all the memes are Nazi-related. Every photo you see of Israeli troops walking through Gaza, you can find the Nazi equivalent of the German troops walking through destroyed Russian cities, rounding up the Palestinians. They round up the Jews. It's the same thing, the same mindset, the same crimes that are happening. But we're letting it happen. We could stop it. We, the United States, could stop this instantly. And we ought not to. Remember, it's a choice. It's not that we're powerless to do anything. It's a choice we've made. The American people are paralyzed right now. There's a handful of people who are bravely out there protesting in favor of Palestine, but they're derided by both sides. Derided. Donald Trump calls them terrorists. Donald Trump, he's the guy. I am Iron Man. I mean, again, remember, for the one thing that he might save us all, he's a moron on everything else. He assaults free speech. He claims that he's going to defend free speech. He claims he's going to do it because, he has himself been subjected to attacks about free speech. And yet he says, if you demonstrate in favor of Hamas, he's going to deport you. Wait a minute. That's hate speech. Well, hate speech is free speech, Donald. I mean, this is the problem when you elect a moron to be president. He doesn't know the Constitution. He doesn't know anything about the Constitution. He couldn't tell you what the hell is in the Constitution. I would love to be a fly on the wall when he interviews Supreme Court justices to see kind of stupid, inane questions he asks them about the Constitution.
We've learned that Israel is pulling several brigades out of the southern part of Lebanon after destroying these dozens of towns in the southern part of Lebanon. Do you think that are they sending these people just to take some rest, or they're going to continue with the same kind of mindset, again sending more forces to the southern part of Lebanon, or they're changing their strategy in the southern part?
Sounds to me like Israel's been beaten. They were supposed to have advanced 20 kilometers deep, taking all this territory, kicking Hezbollah's butt. And Hezbollah's standing fast. Israel's taking a pounding, and they're pulling out. If you want to watch more Israeli soldiers commit suicide, pull these brigades out and tell them, now you have to go right back in and fight over the same terrain that you just left. So you're not pulling the Israeli troops out to send them back in. Pulling them out because you lost. You lost. They haven't been engaged that long. I mean, this is the problem with the Israeli military. They don't know how to fight. They don't know how to do campaigns. They are geared towards short, sharp conflicts. In, mess it up, get out. But to have an actual grueling campaign where you have to slog it out, dig Hezbollah out of there, foxhole by foxhole, tunnel by tunnel, pound it out like we did. Go back and study the Italian campaign. When the Americans were in Italy and fighting the lead up to Monte Cassino, and the kind of fighting was taking place in the mountains, in the hills, in the valleys of Italy. Bloody fighting. Israel can't do that. Their military isn't geared towards that. They would collapse in a heartbeat because they can't take the casualties. They can't absorb those casualties and survive. A real military can take a licking and keep on ticking. It's not a good thing, but you take the United States Army, take the United States Marine Corps, put them in a situation like that. We don't quit. We just keep going until the mission's accomplished. And there's a lot of dead bodies back there, ours and theirs, but we will accomplish that mission. Israel can't do that. They're in there right now. They're crying. This is an army of men who weep at funerals. That's not a crime to weep at funerals, but this is a very emotionally demonstrative group of people. They can't handle the losses. They can't go, too bad, we lost Sergeant Smith today. We'll have a ceremony for him later, but then, boom, we move on, keep on with the mission. Or sometimes you don't get Sergeant Smith back. Sergeant Smith was blown up in a foxhole, but you keep advancing and somebody else has to recover that body, because it's war. But no, the Israelis, everybody has to be pulled back. There's a big funeral, wailing, gnashing of the teeth, pulling of the hair. Societies can't survive with that kind of with that kind of pain and suffering.
I think the main goal, as I mentioned, from Iranian position and from Lebanese people, from Hezbollah, is what's going on in Gaza. It's unbelievable, and nobody knows what would happen in the aftermath. And when we discover how many people were killed, were murdered, were assassinated in Gaza by starving the people, bombing the people, and all of these type of torturing people of Gaza.
You think it matters? How many? You think people care? You think people really care? I'm not talking about the superficiality of it. Oh, I care. Oh, it's horrible to see another dead body of a dead Palestinian child. Oh my God, it's horrible. Nobody's doing a damn thing. Nothing. Zero. Nobody cares. We get, people get emotional about it for a moment. They don't care. If you cared, you'd mobilize, go over, cross the line of departure, and bayonet to death every single Israeli soldier committing these crimes. That's what you would do if you truly cared. We don't care. Nobody cares. Hezbollah cares. They're making sacrifice. Hamas is fighting like, big fight. But we can't even speak about Hamas in a normal fashion. Piers Morgan will say, well, do you condemn Hamas? And all the cowards that go up there say, Piers, that's not right. The answer is, hell no. I praise Hamas. I support Hamas. I endorse everything Hamas does. The more dead Israelis, the better is the appropriate response. Isn't that the appropriate response about Nazis? I mean, would anybody complain in 1943 if I said the appropriate response for dealing with Nazi atrocities against the Jews, the Russians, everybody else is more dead Nazis? Everybody go, hell yeah, good. Well, here we got it right happening right in front of our eyes. The same damn thing. There's no difference between the Israelis and the Nazis. None. Listen to the rhetoric of the Israeli politicians. We ignore it, but it's there. They say it broad, straight up. These are animals. Slaughter them. They're talking about starving them to death. You have Israeli generals driving through talking about committing crimes, and nobody's doing anything. Nothing. What we should be doing is targeting those Israeli generals. Put a cruise missile up their butt because they're criminals. We're all about sending drones out to kill high-value targets and terrorist groups around the world. Israel is a terrorist nation, literally by definition, and we're not doing anything. So I'm sick and tired of people talking about the poor, suffering Palestinian people. It's just a gimmick for you. You don't really care. If you did care, you'd be saying things and demanding things be done. But even those people who claim to care sort of get all nervous when they say, well, do you condemn Hamas? Well, I mean, that's not really the question now. Should it be the question? Rip into them. Don't condemn Hamas. If you support the Palestinian people, then you must support Hamas. If you believe the Palestinian people have a right for a statehood, then you must support the people fighting for that statehood. If you think the Israelis are committing crimes, then you must support the people who are fighting the criminal entity known as Israel. But how many people have the goddamn courage to stand up and say, I support Hamas? Bring all your guests on. Every single one of them. Ask them, do you support Hamas? Watch how freaking nervous they get. Watch how nervous they get.
No.
And then you know the answer. Nobody gives a goddamn about the Palestinian people. Because if you can't say, I support Hamas, you don't care about the Palestinian people. That's the God's honest truth.
You mentioned that the United States is in a position to influence what Israel is doing in that region. Who else is in that position, in your opinion?
Everybody who does business with Israel. Starve Israel to death. Come on, Turkey, shut off the oil. Just stop doing business with Israel. Stop it. Israel is an illegal entity. Stop doing business. Make it illegal for airplanes to fly into Israel. Make it illegal for ships to disembark in Israel. Make it illegal to do any economic interaction with Israel. Sanction Israeli banks. Deny them access to the SWIFT system like we did with the Russian banks. We could do it. Europe could do it. Anybody could do it. Nobody does it. Which tells you again what the world really thinks about the Palestinian people. I mean, it breaks my heart to say this, but we just don't care. We don't. We don't, because if we did, we'd do something. But we're doing nothing but yank, 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 yank.
How much of what's going on in Israel right now is because of Netanyahu and his administration? Do you think that any sort of change in Israel would cause any sort of difference within the society in Israel? Or we are not still at that point that we can say the change in the leadership may change the concept, the mindset of the people of Israel?
You're never going to change the mindset of the people of Israel. They're sick people. They're ill. There's a handful of people there that give lip service to the need for a Palestinian state, but the vast majority of them are Zionists who excuse all the crimes that are taking place, who believe that the Palestinians are wrong, who don't believe in Palestinian statehood, who say the same thing that Netanyahu is, but they're against Netanyahu because he's losing, because he's failing. All right. But, it isn't as though if you got rid of Netanyahu, suddenly Israel would wake up overnight and go, well, we welcome the Palestinians in with open arms. No, they condemn them. They'll continue the same policies, supporting the settlements, etc. Israel is a sick nation, populated by a sick people who are diseased in the mind by Zionism. That's the reality. It's a sad reality, but it's the reality nonetheless. This isn't the days of Yitzhak Rabin, where you had a significant percentage of Israelis who were willing to consider peaceful options, the existence of Palestinian state as necessary. Not today. Those people don't even exist politically in Israel anymore. So, Netanyahu, there are people who could bring about a ceasefire to get the hostages back. But the second you say, and now we move on to create a Palestinian state, they're like, no, not so fast. See, they're against Netanyahu because he's losing, because he's a loser, because Israel's suffering. But who are they going to replace him with? Whoever replaces him will still be the same at the end of the day, the same, infected with the same disease of Zionism. And then that inevitably leads to the same conflict. Until you accept the absolute necessity for a Palestinian state that is equal to Israel in terms of all the rights, then there will be no peaceful solution to this problem. And from the Israeli perspective, that's an impossibility, because in order for there to be that Palestinian state, you would have to dismantle the West Bank settlements. Good luck. That will lead to the civil war that's brewing right now. Israel can't survive. Israel has boxed itself into a corner. There is no getting out of this alive. That's the harsh truth.
Welcome back to my channel. Today I am back with another new video. In this video, Scott Ritter has discussed about Iran and
Marked a location.
Israel clash. Scott Ritter is an ex-army officer of US military. He knows about current affairs and current war. He is also a book writer. So guys, if you like to watch war-related videos, then you can subscribe my channel and you can watch each and every of my videos. Guys, if you like to watch or related video content, then you can subscribe my channel.
Enemies ahead! Help! Help!
Hello guys, you can subscribe my channel, you can watch each and every of my video. If you like to watch our related
Help!
my all team of teammate my I'm going to finish because you're all know only number only this table. Number one also finished. Guys, if you like to watch war related videos like which are described by Scott Ritter, Douglas Macro or others army officers, then you can subscribe my channel because in my channel I daily upload this type of video. And in this video I have also playing a game whose name is BGMI, and I had start this match with three random players which are totally unknown by me and stranger to me. That's why I am suggesting you to play this game too and watch YouTube videos daily. Thank you guys who are watching until the end. I will be back with another video in next day. Bye for now.